Hey, y'all, it's Deanna Kate, and I'm with Speaker Liquors, and we are in Cleveland at our CV event. And I have the beautiful Miss Bates with us. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people who you are.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm ZAHRA Bates. I am the Courvoisier educator and trainer, the ambassador for the East Coast and for our lovely state here in Ohio, all of the control region.
That is very, very wonderful. For people who don't know, break down what is exactly that you do for the company.
So I focus on education, both in restaurants, hotels, and bars, but also to, share the world of Courvoisier, share why I love it to people. A lot of people think cognac is so serious and that you have to kind of sit in the dark and have serious thoughts by a fireplace and be very philosophical about life when you're having cognac. But I think it's much more fun and joyful and vibrant. And so I love to have it. I was a bartender for decades. And so I love to have it in cocktails.
All right, Courvoisier is very, very smooth and tasty. How do you make sure Courvoisier stands out against other brands in the industry?
Well, we try not to actually compete. Every cognac house has its own style. Everybody has a different mood and a moment, and we live on the spectrum of light, vibrant, and bright. And so when you're in that mood and you want to have, a brunch cocktail, or you want to sit in the sun with a little bit of sparkling lemonade or a little bit of champagne with maybe some raspberry liqueur in it, it's the perfect cognac for that. When you want to be darker and serious, maybe you have a different cognac.
How do you come up with new business ideas and basically, kind of help with the entirety of marketing and different things like that for Courvoisier?
When it comes to that, I really try and focus on our history because we have so much rich history to pull from and to share from. Some of the things that I am most passionate about when it comes to our cognac house is the fact that it was founded on the ideal of equality. Every voice is welcome. Every voice needs to be heard. And that's what our founder, Felix Courvoisier, felt. He literally built his cognac house, the actual maison that we have, as a replica of what was called the Pavilion de Fleurs. So after the French Revolution, that was what was renamed the Pavilion d'Égalité, or the Pavilion of Equality. And so that was just a big, bold statement. He was saying that everybody should have a voice in his cognac, and everybody should have a voice and representation when they're out in the world.
That is wonderful. That's actually still applies to the world today when we talk about equality and everybody coming together. So that is wonderful. You did give us a little bit of a backstory. I see we have some different Courvoisiers here. Would you love to tell the people about either all of them or one of them, or do you have a favorite?
I am impartial to an XO for sure, but when I'm making cocktails, I tend to lean into, and as I told you, as a bartender for decades, I lean into the VSOP. The VSOP is complex enough to have really interesting, lots of rich, different types of flavors, but also vibrant and light enough to be able to have things like honey and lemon and apricot liqueur, something that's going to draw out all of the different complex notes that show up in it. So VSOP probably would be my favorite for cocktail making.
What is your favorite cocktail to make with VSOP?
Oh my goodness. So I have done so much research in how cognac works in cocktails. I probably would have to say there are two, both because both have long history. One, the French 75, not a lot of people know that it was originally cognac was the French in the French 75. It didn't get champagne in it until 1927. And it was named after the artillery weapon, French 75, which the reason why they named it after that is because it was considered the weapon that could be the one and done. For those of us that, I'm from a military family, so those of us who have those military interests, it literally was the weapon that could take on a tank and take on a plane. And so when they added champagne to it, they actually were trying to replicate the shape of that weapon. And so that meant that it was in a Collins glass and on ice, super refreshing. And I love a refreshing drink. And then there is the French twist, No relation, but it is a shorter glass version. And instead of champagne in it, it is with soda water and an orange liqueur. It's almost like a lighter, more vibrant sidecar, and it's served on ice. Those two are my go-tos when I go out and get a drink. Also, I do love a French mule with lemon instead of lime. I know everybody's gonna know it, so whenever I order that one, I know that I'm probably get a delicious one.
Yes, the French mule is probably one of my favorites. It's very, very good. It's refreshing and it's very, very smooth. So just talking more about Courvoisier and the history of it, how did you guys build up such a successful business?
I think it's super relevant to how we build businesses today. It was about building a solid network. Nobody makes it alone. And for us, we always honored our handshake relationships and our handshake relationships with our growers, people that are growing the grapes to make the wine that we work with. And we always make sure that we meet with them regularly and hear their voices and make sure that we continue to have those good relationships, to the relationships that we build with our influencers, with our teams in our distribution networks. Everything that we do is about trust and building relationships. And I think that it started from day one and it continues on today.
That's excellent. It actually ties into going back to being equal and having equality within a company and treating everybody with respect. That is wonderful to hear that you guys do that. How have Courvoisier elevated from when you guys first started to now in 2022, still thriving as a great business?
I think it started back in 1909. We were founded in 1828, and obviously, you know, you have your rough patches, and he was definitely making great cognac then. But in 1909 is when we really developed our house style, the style that we stick to today, that is floral, versatile, fruit forward, so it's very approachable. When you keep saying that it's smooth, that is our house style. That is our goal, is to get to that point. And so I think that that's really where we hit on the magic for us. And then that's also when we started becoming a global brand. And, you know, everybody knows the name of Courvoisier around the world. And I think that was really about making sure that this was our second chief blender, and having his voice really kind of take the lead in that, which is, you know, you have to lean on your people and the people that are doing, you know, the work that and the technical work of the production, the distillation, that sort of thing. And he really, really defined that for us.
Yeah, small things and details definitely matter. Like you said, when you're making a drink, different flavors help bring out the best, so you can really enjoy it. What do you have coming up for Courvoisier for the near future? What can the people look forward to?
Well, there is a lot of incredible stuff. As you can see, we have a new package there. We have a package that has a cream background with some bees on it. You'll notice that we have a red Courvoisier font now. And remember, we were talking about, you know, kind of like how our business has been built and what we lean back on. Well, that was our original font. And that red was our original packaging in there. And having that cream with the touch of gold from when we first started until the mid 1950s to 1960s is as long as we had that label. And so we were just going back to our roots and saying, you know what, we've been incredible for a long time, and we should really re-highlight that. So that is something that I'm very excited about. But then on top of that, as I said, I was a bartender, so you can see that the shape of the bottle there is a little bit different than you're used to seeing. Well, we wanted to make sure that we went again back to our original packaging. It used to be in wine bottles when cognac went out. But more than that, more importantly, bartenders from around the world were asking for ergonomic bottles that when they were making cocktails weren't as detrimental on their wrists. And so this is an extremely ergonomic bottle. So I'm incredibly proud and excited about that. And then we have these beautiful bottles that are sitting on our table now. I'll start with the XO Royale. There is a new mark that has been approved by the BNIC, that's the regulatory body for cognac, and it is XXO, which means that it has to start at 14 years old. So when you think about XO, it lives in the XO world, but the XO has to start at 10 years old.
Okay.
And then for our XO Royale, you notice it says Royale. Well, it is literally us looking back at the cognac that we had made for Edward VII. A lot of people don't know this, but Edward VII, King of England, after he passed, they found cases of Courvoisier in his cellar. And we had some in our stocks, and we looked at that recipe and we replicated that recipe here in this bottle.
Amazing.
So it's incredibly unique. It goes up to 30 years old for both of the growing regions, the wines that were from the growing regions there in the blend. And it is spectacular. It will be launched at, I think, towards the end of the month, but then you'll probably see it in the market maybe the end of the year, beginning of the year.
Okay, excellent. So a lot of good things coming out and happening. How do you guys continue to be successful and give the people good quality products?
I think part of it is having incredible team members who really care. I mean, literally, people will stay there their entire career because they're just so passionate about it. But then also partnerships. And we all know how important picking a good partner is. And when you look at our Mizunara cognac, which is something that we're going to be having tonight, we've only made 500 bottles of this in the world. It was done by our previous chief blender. Once it's gone forever. So having a taste tonight will be incredibly special. But it wasn't just because, oh, we want to make a Mizunara cognac because Mizunara is kind of like the great thing today. But we partnered with Shinju Fukuyo, who is the chief blender of House of Suntory. And nobody's going to know Mizunara better than him. And so Patrice and he would sit and share dinner. Even during the pandemic, they would get on video and they would have a Japanese meal or a French meal, and they would both share that and talk about what was important about them growing up when they had that meal, how they associate it with their culture. And then before they actually even started thinking about doing the blend, they were aligned on those thought processes first. So having a partnership where you trust the other person is incredibly important, and I think that that shows in this.
It definitely does, and that's wonderful. Speaking of team members, how do you guys keep a great business relationships and like kind of decipher who's a good person to work with and who maybe doesn't fit the Courvoisier standards?
I think usually it just shows. You when you come across somebody that is good, generous with their kindness, thoughtful, meticulous in their approach to life, that's somebody that you're going to be drawn towards. I think in any business that you're going to be drawn towards somebody like that. And I think that that's what we aim for.
Wonderful. How do you guys keep everyone encouraged and motivated at Courvoisier?
I happen to be an overly happy person. Maybe that's part of the hiring process, but I think it's just I happen to choose a job I love, and so I don't work a single day in my life. And I think that might be part of it, is that you are drawn towards the place that your heart pulls you towards. And I think that if you are around a lot of people that are like that, it's just a constant joy to be in that space. And I feel incredibly lucky with the people that I get to work with because everyone has a very similar mindset. I mean, just coming and visiting in this market and working with Delbert and Chad, Bobby, Brandy, all of us just are aiming towards the pinnacle. We're it's not that we're perfectionists, but we all have that same mindset. And I think that that's just part of, who you are. It's not an easy business. I think it's not an easy world.
Yeah.
If you're going to be successful, that's part of it.
Very good. So tell the people maybe 3 things that they don't know about Courvoisier. It could be anything from the taste, the history, 3 things that you think the people should know when drinking.
The easiest way to remember how we're distinctly different from other cognacs is one, we have a rich palette of cru, so we pull from a lot of those growing regions that I was talking about. And remember I said it was like a wine. Having those different abilities of having those different techniques of how we approach the distillation really gives us a lot more to play with. So that's what makes it super complex. Then if you look at our distinct distillation, so if you look at our Taste of the BS, which is very light and bright, and you taste the VSOP, which is a little bit richer and complex, as I was telling you about. Those are two different distillation techniques. And other cognac houses don't do that. So if you remember that, there's the rich palate cru, the distinct distillation, and the third thing would be our signature oak selection. Not many people do this, but we don't source barrels. We source trees. We work with the equivalent of the National Forestry Department in France, and we work in a holistic forestry environment, and we source trees, then we cut those trees down into staves ourselves, and then we season those staves, which take 2.5 years ourselves. And then we have a specialist barrel maker make our barrels for us. So we make sure that those like 3 things are in place, because oak is an ingredient for us. It's not just like, okay, we're just gonna make one recipe and then we'll stick it in a barrel, and the longer it sits, then we'll just change the name from BS to VSOP to XO. We're super thoughtful about how we do it.
Very, very good. Thank you so much for sharing all of this information with us. I really do appreciate it. A lot of people may think that success kind of happens overnight. Have you guys ever faced any obstacles, and how did you overcome one?
Pretty much from the day I was hired, it was an obstacle. People didn't care about cognac, which to me was shocking. It's my favorite spirit. And so for the first 5 years was just getting people to care and to invest, and to say, you know, this is actually an incredible quality product. And now just knowing that it just keeps growing and growing as a business. Even when people tell you no, you just have to keep going. And so many times you're going to hear no, you just have to keep coming back up and keep moving forward. And I think that that is the number one thing to success. If you want to achieve something, everybody's going to tell you no. Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Yes.
Right? Just keep going. And of course, believing in yourself. Because you said it took, almost 5 years just to get people
Absolutely.
interested. Do you have a time frame for where you think people should, throw in the towel? Or do you ever think somebody should throw in the towel when they have a passion for something?
I don't know. I've never set a goal for myself and not achieved it. And I think that that comes down to that mindset of, yes, people are going to tell me no, but all I have to do is, yes, there's an obstacle in front of me. That no is my obstacle. How am I going to find my way around it? And there's always a way around it.
Always. What advice would you give someone or entrepreneur, just anybody that would help you in your career, just being successful?
One, have a strong circle around you. We're talking about having a strong network. Have people that are positive around you. When you are working hard at what you do, there's always going to be things that are going to be distracting. But when you have those strong, positive people around you, they also are aiming for something as well. And so being supportive and being supported, go hand in hand. So definitely make sure that your crew rolls deep.
For sure. And loyalty.
Yes, absolutely.
Very loyal. Okay, so just giving more into it and speaking on Courvoisier, just the differences. I do want to thank you so much for having us and inviting us and sharing us everything about the Courvoisier business. Is there anything that is different or makes you guys very, of course you're very versatile. How do you guys present that as far as marketing and to social media to be appealing to the eye? Like you said, just the different things in the bottles and the shapes. How do you make sure people know, when you see that bottle, you know that's Courvoisier?
I think we just live in a very light, bright world as Courvoisier. And so if you go on, say, the Courvoisier Instagram or the Courvoisier website, you're going to notice immediately that it's vibrant and light, and you're going to see lots of flowers, and you're going to see lots of fresh fruit and lots of color. And I think that is definitely sets us apart from other cognacs. You look at other cognacs and it's a little bit darker, a little bit more serious. But you know what? I understand it. As I said, we've come through a lot lately, but I feel like we're all ready to get out there and have a bit more fun and take things with a little bit more, being a little bit more lighthearted.
What is the creative thinking on coming up with Courvoisier's products?
That all happens in France. Quite literally, to be a cognac, everything has to be made in France. So especially in that region in Cognac. So the team there is a very collaborative team. when it's being thought in the making of the product, if our chief blender says yes, if our chief distiller says yes, if all of the heads of our quality control, from oak quality control to our wine production quality control, if they are all on the same page about what the next thing is, then that's what we do. But if there's one dissenting voice, then everybody goes back to the drawing board.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. It sounds very difficult sometimes. That's very interesting to know because everybody thinks like, they don't know the whole process of making the liquor. Some people probably just think you put it in a bottle and you go. Do you actually taste test everything before it goes out to the public?
Oh, absolutely. For every blend, whether it's VS, VSOP, XO, again, they have a full blending committee, and there are 11 people that sit on that committee, and they all have to agree on it, and they all taste it before ahead of time, and they do it in silence, so nobody can be overwhelmed by another person's personality. They write it all down, it gets all compiled, so it is completely anonymous, and again, if anybody dissents, then you go back to the drawing board.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you again, of course, for having me and having us come in and being a part of everything. Would you like to tell them anything else that they should absolutely know about Courvoisier?
I think one of the misconceptions about cognac is that you should have it on its own and nothing else should be mixed with it. I think that as you'll notice tonight when we're sitting down together and having dinner, I think that it's something that integrates really beautifully with meals, in cocktails, whether it's neat or in a cocktail, being paired with food, because it's a wine first and wine is known for pairing. So that is something that I would love for people to take away.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure. And I can't wait to taste the different varieties tonight at dinner. Go ahead and tell the people again once more who you are before we go ahead and wrap it up. Let them know your name and your title and your position at Courvoisier.
Thank you so much as well. And we're going to have a toast together. I'm ZAHRA Bates. I'm your Courvoisier ambassador. I am the educator and trainer, but if you are looking for me out in the social medias, you can see me as the East Coast and Control is a very long title, North American National Accounts and E-commerce Ambassador.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I have a question since you do have this long title. How did you get into that just job description and that career, I should say?
A lot of it. I didn't actually have like a set path when I was deciding. I was finding my way, as most of us are, and you keep following your passions until it takes you there. But my passion happened to be in hospitality. I worked in bars, restaurants. I did everything from I worked on the line shucking oysters. I was a hostess. I was a cashier. I was a waitress, a bartender, and every pub, club, nightclub, anything you can imagine, everything but a beach bar. That's what I've done in the hospitality industry. But more than that, as it was a passion, I followed it to different places in the world, trying to understand, what makes an incredible bar in Paris, what makes an incredible bar in London, and what makes an incredible bar in the Caribbean, and trying out all of the different ways that these things worked, like how cocktail making worked, how team building worked. And I think that was part of why I was drawn into this world, is because one, I love it, and then two, I like to talk about it a lot.
Thank you. I love your personality. It's very outgoing and easy. You're a very happy person. That's good. You need to be around happy people who bring, sunshine and motivation. So I do again want to thank you so much for having us, and I look forward to trying all the different tastings tonight. I'm Deanna Kay. This is Speaker Liquors, and we're in Cleveland. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Okay. Thank you.
Some in-depth questions.
Thank you. I was trying to make sure it was a very, very good interview.
Under pressure.
Did really good. Yeah, thank you. Oh, that was intense.
Should we get a picture? picture of you
Yes,
guys?
please. Oh wait, let me put
Let me
this
get a
there.
picture with all of them too. Everybody too. Video of them getting your picture. Come on. Come on. Get them two.
Ladies together.
Scoot back.
No, get in front of the side. Okay. Right. Do it today. Yeah, your matches.
Yeah. One more? You wanna hold the bottle?
Yeah.
Sorry, stage mom. And the rest of the speaker leaders, guys?
Whole team. How we gonna do this? It's just, we need Bree to come in. Yeah.
We're starting hand placement. Can we just have the label?
Yep, thank
Thanks.
you.
Sorry, stage mom
Such
again.
a good scene, such a good scene.
Alright, man, before you break up, I said it like you guys were a band. So hold on, let me just like, you guys just pretend like you're getting your picture taken. This is actually video. Yep, this is great. Maybe it's also kind of funny too. You guys like to laugh for me. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that was good.
We're gonna pause the video.
Okay.
The next person to come on.
Okay.
That's good. Appreciate you. That was nice. That was nice. That was nice.
Sorry, I have information.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I kept reminding myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm working. Working.
Yeah, that's cool. Did good.
Thank you. I was trying to make
That helped a lot, no?
Yeah. Because it gave me like keywords even when like she was talking. I was trying to make sure I try to touch back on what she was saying and stuff.
We still got it. Oh, this still live.